Okay, and welcome back. Today we're going to try to put a sulky on this Craftsman 33. Something I've been wanting to do, something I said I was going to do. And so I'm going to start taking a look at it. I hope this isn't going to be too hard. Because we have to get a little creative, I think it is. What we got to do. Because we've got this shift lever in the way here. So normally on these walk-behinds, on the bigger walk-behinds, you would have all this room to mount your plate. In fact, if it had a shifter for a belt drive, it would be coming out of the top. But this one is definitely in the way, so we gotta get a plate below it, or to kind of straddle it. And let's look at some stuff to see how we're going to do this. Okay, so this is the sulky in question. The goal is to be able to use the sulky on the Craftsman and the Snapper 48. So you're going to have two mounts for one sulky. And so this mount has to stay there. And of course it has a quick release, so you can take that off, pull the pin, and get it right off of there, which is what I'm going to do right now, so that I can bring it around to the front yard and try to size it up. You know, it might be a good idea to pull this bracket off just for measuring purposes, but I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. So let's pull this sulky off of here. Okay, so what I have here now is I have it propped up at exactly the right level. As you can see there, it's riding level, and so that is where it wants to be, right there. So the question is, how are we going to make a mount at exactly that level, which of course is exactly where that shifter comes out. So it's going to have to be back like about this far. And so the question is, do we want to make a plate under there to mount onto there, and then we would have to put some circles up high for the, like this. By the way, this is an old Jungle Wheels mount. I just had it and I just brought it out just to see if I could see anything. So we're looking at these big, these big half circle things to hold the pin. And so we're going to have to get some of those at right exactly this level, so that that pin over there can go through and hold. Now it can be made out of metal or possibly PVC or maybe even wood. If pressure treated wood, it'll last for a little while anyway. But I'm not sure exactly what course I'm going to go. I don't know if we're going to put a plate on the bottom, or if I'm going to mount a big plate to those holes. That is a battery tray. Some of these models had batteries and starters. This one didn't. But I can mount things to that. I'm thinking of mounting a big piece of wood as a base right onto that, so I can shoot some arms off of it and intersect right here and here, so I can get a pin on there. I think that's the way I want to do it. And that'll be a couple of really strong arms made out of like angle iron, and they'll drop down and intersect that. I think that's the way I want to go. So let me see what I have and see what I'm going to do. Okay, so what I decided to do is go with a wooden mounting plate, because we have a kind of a unusual surface in there. The battery tray is offset. It's over here, and I want to utilize those holes there, but as you can see, this is not going to be centered with that battery tray mount, so I need to even that up. So what I'm going to do is mount this piece of wood in there, and those bolts will bolt into there, which will be offset, but it will be holding it nice and firm. Then I can evenly mount things to this. And what I believe I'm going to do is I'm going to go with angle iron running straight off of this and back to the point where I can drop some kind of a loop or a spacer and then a loop to hold on to that pin. And I believe that's what I'm going to do. And where I got that angle iron is going to be this bed rail. I've done this so many times. If you see somebody throwing away a bed, stop by and look, because there's a very good chance they're also throwing away a bed rail. And bed rails are made out of angle iron. And so if you've got metal cutting stuff, you've got, you know, a good source for whatever you need to do that. And so I'm going to cut the pieces here at the right length. I think I want to put it right about here. So I'm going to cut them for the length to drop some kind of loops or holes at that length from, I don't know. I'm going to measure it all and you'll see it in the next scene. Okay, so here's a look at that. If you didn't notice, I time-lapsed that cutting because my Sawzall blade was dull, and as usual, while you're doing the project, you can't find your brand new pack, which I know we got a brand new pack here somewhere, but I couldn't find it, so I had to use the old one. Anyway, I got through it, and what we have here is the way I'm thinking of laying it out there. You can see that board will be attached to the mower, and these bed rails will be attached to that board and sticking out to here. Now I just have to drop something from the bed rail down to there that has a 3/4 inch hole in it, and preferably metal. So I just have to dig around and see what I can find, and then start drilling some holes in these things and mount everything up. Well, wait a second, hold the phone. I just found these. So there's a chance that's going to be strong enough. Just send that up through there. And I believe it's wide enough for a 3/4 inch shaft. I'll verify that. And then I just have to drill one hole, secure it pretty good. This actually should be up a little bit higher. This is not quite high enough. So that will be good, be able to get a good mount on there. And it may just be strong enough. We'll see. I'm going to go with that because I think it's going to break these off before it breaks everything else. So it's worth trying. Besides, I was not able to find the Sawzall blade, so yeah, I'm going to go with the eye screws. Okay, getting ready to mount the main board plate in there. Let me get these off here. I was just checking some alignment there. And so what I've done is I've been able to get the 3 bolts up through there, but this one in the far corner back here is blocked by the main planetary. I can't get to it, so this plate is going to be held on by 3 bolts. And if you're wondering how I'm going to line up those bolts, basically you line it up where you want, precisely where you want, and I'll do that in a moment. And then you take with a hammer and you just whack the spots where you know the bolts are, and it will leave an impression and you know where to drill. And that's what I'll be doing next, and we'll get this on here and then decide exactly where to put these. Okay, so this far into it, of course starting to make mistakes, losing concentration. But okay, so I utilized some of the holes that were in the bed rail back there, and then I had to drill a new one here. or the neighbors are here, and they're a little bit goofy. Anyway, I'm going to have to cut 2 new holes on the new one. I'm now just realizing that I'm going to have to drill 2 more holes in the board to secure the other rail for the eye screws. But I'm going to secure this side and line it up and hold it there and get all that in place, and then everything else is going to line up to wherever that ended up being. So we'll get all that together, and boy, I don't know what the next step is going to be, but be right back. Okay, so here's a look at what I've got up to this point. You can see what I'm talking about at this point. I've got the pin in, and it did fit through the eye screw. Of course, nothing's actually tightened down. I've just got everything in place. So that's going to hold it on that side, and it's, you know, that is going to be very solid. Once everything's tightened down, it's going to be pretty good. And then, so now what I have to do is figure out exactly where this one has to go on this side and drill its holes and attach it to the board, okay, so on this side over here, I attached it to the same screws, the same bolts that are holding the board on. So those bolts go straight through that old battery tray hole, and it's holding on the board and it's holding on the rail. But on this side, of course, it's not level. That's where it is right there. And this needs to be over here to line up with the outside of this hitch. So this one here is only going to be attached to the board. So I'm going to have to take the board off again and attach it to the underside of that to get that on there, and then drill a new hole on the end here and put the second eye screw on there to attach it on that side. And then we're done. So let me do all that, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, so I've got the other eye screw on, and I've got it jacked up, at least mostly to the point of where it's supposed to be, so that I can line everything up. Of course, this side is solid, that's where it has to be, and this side is right now where it's going to be. So all I need to do is, how am I going to do that? So I need to make 2 mounting points, 2 more holes in this angle iron, up there and up there, somewhat symmetrical with those, and mount some bolts in from the bottom, because they're not going to be going through the mower frame, just through the board. And then of course they'll have to be inset, they'll have to be recessed so that the board can lay flat from underneath. How I'm going to line that up, I don't know right off bat, but that I'm going to, so I'm going to mark some points, and then I'm going to put it back on here, and then I'm going to take an ink pen and put it through the hole and mark some holes where the holes need to be drilled on the board, and then I'm going to do that. And then mount it all up, and then I can take it for a ride. Okay. Okay, so here's how I'm flush mounting these on the opposite side. Basically, I have a big hole in this board here so that this bolt can fit in there. So you can do that. And then you'll see on the other side here, that's going to fit in there. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, that's going to fit in that hole. Somehow it's going to. Okay, it's amazing I made it this far. There we go. So once it's in there, it's free to move, and so what you do is you hit that with the hammer to the point where it goes flush. Very hard to do with one hand, but you get the idea. Okay, so now that they're flush mounted on that side, and they're inset there to the point where they won't move, so now I can mount this whole plate down and attach that angle iron on this side and screw those down without them turning because they're stuck in the wood. But to a point, there's a limit. Okay, let's put it together. Okay, so there it is. It's holding on its own now. It's not propped up. Everything is tightened down and mounted where I think it should go, and it's holding. And it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid, must say. And we have the full range of motion. Like, I can get this into reverse there. It is touching, but it's in reverse. And then all the way on this side, all the way over to fourth, but it is in fourth. Just barely. It's as close as it can possibly get. And that's actually where it needs to be to line up with these. And so there they are, there it all is, all mounted up and ready to go. I did notice this one thing here. The way this mounts on its correct mount, the pin goes through here, and because I think there's these long collars on either side on the mount, which I didn't realize I don't have here. But I've come up with a solution. There. Alright, so, oh yeah, I wanted to also mention here, if you look on the bottom side of these eye screws, I put these collars on there, and what those are, you probably recognize them, those little kind of spacer bushing deals that go on the back of idlers, and those are going to help to support the shaft of the eye screw, because that's going to be kind of pulling right there, pulling and twisting. And so that's going to help to stabilize that, I hope. Anyway, I know I keep on saying about ready to take it for a ride, but this time I'm really going to. Look at that. So, yeah, so I've got kind of like the lawn care nut has. I have the salad bar, but it's all green and it all mows, so let's do it. Okay, so yeah, nothing broke, but you know, obviously, okay, so these eye screws have to be tightened down really, really tight somehow. I've got lock washers on them, but there's got to be something much, much tighter there, because that's what happened. It slipped out. The thing came unscrewed. I actually saw it on the way over here. There they are. Okay, got that. Got that. Here's the nut. I know it's amazing, I'm actually finding this stuff. But now I need that spacer thingy. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll kind of stop filming this right now and look for that. But I just wanted to say that it is working out really well. It's solid other than this one screw backing out, but you know, it's a prototype. It was doing really, really well, pulling really well. Now you can't zero turn. No, you really can't zero turn. So striping is a challenge, so you gotta kind of go judge your turns, kind of like on a lawn tractor. But it is working. It pulls no problem whatsoever, and it's not wheeling. You know, the front end's not coming up like I thought it would. Okay, I just gotta find that spacer, then I'm gonna put everything away. Okay, so my final thoughts. As you saw, it went right up the ramp with no problem whatsoever. I mean, it didn't hesitate at all. No slipping, no nothing. In fact, it performs pretty much exactly like it does without the sulky on it. It's like I'm not even there. It doesn't even struggle. And that's great. That means this can be done. Unfortunately, okay, so things I would do differently. Of course, that piece of wood there needs to be a piece of metal. That would just make it a lot more solid and of course make it last longer, because once that piece of wood starts getting wet, it will start to get compromised. So I will tweak it from here. I'll probably end up fabricating a big metal plate there. So if you have the Craftsman or the Cub Cadet or the Troy-Bilt that are all the same mower, rest assured it will pull it, but you're going to have to figure out a different way to mount it, because if I'm correct, that's where y'all's battery is. So you're going to have to figure out something below that would stick out like a trailer hitch, and you're going to have to drill holes in that back plate. But if you happen to have one without a battery, you can do it this way. A lot of trouble, but it's going to pay off in the end, because I don't have to walk behind it anymore. And so I can use this sulky interchangeably between this and my Snapper 48. Awesome. Okay, so that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching.